My car's overheating. And yes, I'm talking about the vet. And do you think I did the responsible thing when I had $400 in my account? No, I didn't buy a radiator fan to keep my engine cool. Instead, I buy Mr. Nuts, complete in box. That seemed like the better deal to me. I don't know what the deal is with Chevrolet and their cooling systems. The vet only has like 52,000 miles on it, and the radiator fan's already going out. And my wife had a Chevy Traverse a couple years ago, and it just started springing coolant leaks everywhere. And at the same time my vet's overheating, a guy I work with who drives a Chevy truck, his radiator fan wouldn't turn off. Is it a pattern? I don't know. You know what is a pattern though? Anytime I take my family out and there's some random dogs for sale, we end up coming home with one. It's the way I got my first dog, and it's the way I got a new dog this weekend. I took my family to a carnival and I avoided the area, but I saw over there that the shelter was there, set up with a booth. I didn't go near there, my kids did. And then my wife followed them over. And I knew at that point it was already too late. You know, you go over there, they offer to let you take one for a walk, and then they start telling you how they've had all their shots, they're spayed or neutered. They see you with your family, so they tell you that they're good with kids. And in my head, red flags are going off like, oh man, we need to get out of here. In the kids' head, they're like, yeah, we're going home with the dog. Once they started walking him, I just went home and got the other dog so he could go and meet him, because I already knew he was coming home with us at that point. So we ask if this dog is potty trained, and the guy says, yeah, I think he's potty trained. I know he's kennel trained, but I'm pretty sure he's potty trained too. We get home, and what's the first thing this dog does? Takes a fat dump on the floor. Okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. New home, maybe it was just an accident. No, this dog will sit there and walk all the way down the hallway taking a whiz, and it's like a zigzag going all the way down. And then of course you're not just paying $30 for the dog. No, you gotta go out and get a leash, personalized with his name on it. You gotta buy dog food. Oh, and then as we're paying for him, that's when they decide to tell you that he's got heartworms, so he needs medication. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. So we start trying to think of a new name for the dog. His name was Baloo, but since he's not potty trained, when you go to stop him from taking a leak on the floor, you're like, hey, Baloo! It's really weird to say. It doesn't feel natural at all. You'd just rather say blue, like the color. And just in case anybody is wondering, when you get a dog from the shelter, it is a good idea to change their name in case they were beaten or something under that name that they used to have. But anyways, my wife starts coming up with the most common names for a dog. Coco, Coffee, Brownie. And then you know me with video games on my mind all the time. I'm sitting there trying to think of characters from video games, so I come up with Link, Chesney from Paladin's Quest that we just played last week. But anytime I would come up with a video game name, she would just shoot it down. So finally I came up with the name Congo, and she sat there and thought about it for a second. I don't think that's part of any video game. She's like, yeah, I think I kind of like that. Winning. So yeah, now I have a dog named after Congo's caper. Between this dog and of course buying Mr. Nuts, I'm rolling around, stopping at every stoplight, because every light wants to turn red when your car wants to overheat. I don't know, I gotta get my priorities straight. Today we have 5 games that we'll be adding to the collection, and one of them is the rarest complete in box game on the Super Nintendo. Let's check them out. Quit yelling! Quit yelling! And the first game up is Supernova. Supernova was developed and published by Taito, shooting onto store shelves in 1993. Supernova is part of the Darius series. The story in this game is that the people of Darius have been at peace for thousands of years after defeating Belser. It's been so long, in fact, that the people get complacent and think war is a silly idea of the ancients. But history is about to repeat itself as Belser is planning an attack somewhere in the galaxy, and now it's time to pilot the Silverhawk to stop the attack. You choose from one of 3 Silverhawks, green, red, or blue. Each have their own main battery, torpedo, and laser weapon type. The game has a lot going for it. It has excellent visuals with lots of detail, awesome sound effects from the explosions, an upbeat soundtrack that sounds amazing, and the controls handle as they should. And just like other Darius games, when you finish a level, you have a split level selection where you get to choose the path to victory. However, this is a game I'll probably never beat. It's brutally hard. First off, you have one-shot kills. There are shields in the game that will increase the amount of hits you can take, but without them, it's one shot. When your ship blows up, you're set slightly back in the level and all your weapons go back to level 1. Even if you make it to the boss and die, you don't get to start right back at him. It still places you back in the level. So it's a lot of tedious trial and error trying to figure out patterns of the final boss. You get up to 5 ships before a continue where you have to start the level over. After 3 continues, you have to start the game over. Another thing I'm not a fan of is the ship's movement speed. It's a little slow and there's no option to change it. Beside the one-shot kills and the slow ship speed, the levels themselves are just really difficult to get through without a lot of practice. But again, it's hard to practice when you keep dying from the one-shot kills. Despite the difficulty, Supernova is a well-made game. It's worth playing, especially if you have the time to put into it and get good at it. Supernova is game number 101 for the collection, and price charting has it at $116. And at $116, that brings our total up to $18,509 for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box Quest. Up next is what I consider to be the rarest Complete in Box game on the Super Nintendo. Now, there are a lot of really hard games to find on the Super Nintendo, but after weighing all the options, I feel like this is the rarest game to find. And it's one I wanted to knock out quickly because of how hard it is to find. And that game is Hurricanes. So there was a lot of factors in coming up with this. And if you count posters and everything else, games like Three Ninjas and Aero Fighters are gonna give Hurricanes a run for its money. And even Buckaroos would be up there. But I also took some historical notes to help me make this decision. So here's some other games for comparison. Hagane has 5 Complete in Box games on average sell a year, and over 30 Complete in Boxes have sold in the last 7 years. And 1 loose copy sells every week. Three Ninjas has 2 Complete in Box games that sell every year, but there's a loose one that sells every week. Loose, the game isn't hard to find at all. Finding it complete in box is what makes it hard, especially with the poster. And in the last 7 years, 18 complete in box games have sold. International Superstar Soccer is another really rare one, and it has 2 complete in box copies sell a year and only 1 loose copy a month. And in the last 7 years, only 13 complete in box copies have been sold. And for loose copies, only 1 a month sells. Aero Fighters also has 2 complete in box games sell a year, 2 loose copies a month, only 10 recorded complete in box in the last 7 years. And then we have Hurricanes, which has 2 complete in box sell a year on average, 1 loose card a month, and 11 have sold in the last 7 years. But I also went on eBay to see what was available now. And right now there are 3 complete in box Aero Fighters games you could buy at this very moment, and a handful of cards. Hurricanes, if you want to get technical, there's not a single complete in box on eBay right now. There's 1 sealed one and it's $20,000, but there is no complete in box that you could buy. And just for fun, I'll throw Earthbound in there. Earthbound has an average of 2 complete in box sell a week. Yeah, not a month, a week, with a loose cart selling every single day, at least 1. And complete in box on eBay at the time of making this video, there are 15 complete in box Earthbounds available. Now somebody tell me why Earthbound is so expensive. It's not rare. Am I salty I don't have it? Yeah! Because I don't want to pay that much for a game that's not rare. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna do it though. Hurricanes was developed by Probe Software and published by US Gold. It kicked onto the SNES in 1994. The Gorgons challenged the Hurricanes to a soccer match, But to make it to the soccer match, you have to make it through 15 platforming levels with traps set by the Gorgons. If you can't manage to make it to the soccer match, you forfeit the soccer game and the Gorgons automatically win. So yeah, this isn't your standard soccer game. You run through the levels kicking a soccer ball at enemies to take them out. Every button is used to play the game. B jumps, Y builds up a power kick for a powerful attack, A is your standard kick, and X chips the ball. You also have the L and R buttons which make you run. The controls feel delayed. After releasing the button to kick the ball at the enemies, it takes a second for the ball to execute the command. The character also floats in the air for a second when running off a platform. Not sure what that's about. The graphics aren't bad, but they're nothing special. The music is upbeat and it fits the game great, but it's nothing memorable. You get 3 lives to make it through the game. If you lose all your lives, it's a game over. You do have a health meter and you can take multiple hits before dying, so at least it's not a one-shot kill. Overall, Hurricanes isn't a terrible game, but it's not something to go out of your way to play. Hurricanes is game number 102 for the collection, and I paid $1,950 shipped for it. And at $1,950, that brings our total up to $20,459 for the collection. So this game was $4,000 on eBay. Anyways, I got in contact with the seller and offered him $1,950 privately, and he accepted. And here it is. And I ended up getting some other games from him later on, and I still plan on buying more from him. And yes, $1,950 is pretty high for this game, but I don't want to get to the end of this collection and be hunting this game down. Wouldn't it stink to finish the entire quest and then be waiting on one game for months and months to pop up? And when this was the only available complete in box game on eBay, I just wanted to get it knocked out of the way. I don't mind paying a little extra for a game if it's this rare and in this nice of condition. I get plenty of good deals, so I can lose some too. And then again, I don't even feel like I lost, because despite what I paid for it, this game makes me happy. Up next we have a beat 'em up game that for some reason I thought was an RPG for the longest time. I don't even know why. And that game is the Pirates of Dark Water. The Pirates of Dark Water was developed and published by Sunsoft, releasing for the Super Nintendo in 1994. Pirates of Dark Water is based off a cartoon of the same name. Darkwater is taking over the planet Myr, and King Primus's son Ren must stop the evil pirate lord Bloth to save the planet and his home, Octopon. To do this, Ren must collect treasures of rule that will allow him to control the Dark Water and return Myr and Octopon to their former glory. You play as Tula, Ren, or Laz. Each have their own strengths and attacks. Laz is the strongest character, but has the least agility. Ren is a balanced character, which has a good mix of strength and agility. And Tula is the fastest character, but she's very weak. Use all the buttons to play the game. For each character, B jumps, Y punches, X uses a weapon, L and R block, and A is your special attack. When you use your special attack, some of your health is drained. Double tapping right or left on the D-pad will make you run. If you jump while running and hit the attack button, you'll do a powerful kick. You can also just jump and attack, as well as you can grab enemies and throw them. With all the options you have to attack your enemy, it makes the game a lot of fun, at least for a while. The biggest complaint I have is the enemies repeat themselves throughout the entire game. There are 7 treasures of rule to collect. The levels are long, so the game can drag on a little. The visuals are okay, but they're nothing spectacular. The music is above average with upbeat heavy rock, but the sound effects aren't as satisfying as in some of the other beat 'em ups we've played. That's just a minor complaint. Pirates of Dark Water is a fun beat 'em up for the SNES. It's definitely worth playing if you're a fan of the genre. The Pirates of Dark Water is game number 103 for the collection, and I have $300 in trade for it. And at $300, that brings our total up to $20,759 for the SNES quest. And the next game up is Football Fury. Football Fury was developed by ACOM and published by Sammy. It released for the Super NES in 1993. Here we have a football game that prides itself in having easy to use controls. That's according to the manual, but I didn't notice it being much more user-friendly than any other football game. The game isn't licensed, so there are no real teams or players. The offense and defense plays just like any other football game, where you select the strategy before each play. On offense, you hike the ball with B, then you use the A, B, or Y button to throw the ball. But you also have a meter when throwing the ball, which makes things more complicated than they need to be. You can also choose to just run the ball. Running the ball is where things start to get fun. You can use the A button to avoid a tackle and B button to break away from a tackle. It doesn't always work, but it's fun when it does. Defense is where the game loses all its credit. Your character automatically changes as you play, so you'll be going for a quarterback sack, and the next thing you know, you're a different person running away from everyone. And just like you, the opponent can avoid tackles and break away too. And believe me, they're really good at it. Sometimes the controls work and you can make an epic sack, but for the most part, they don't on defense. The graphics are bright and do the job, so I don't have any gripes there. The music loops throughout the entire game and will get stuck in your head. Overall, Football Fury is a playable, mediocre football game, even with the wacky defense controls. And if it's not for you, there's always the halftime show to keep you entertained. Football Fury is game number 104 for the collection, and I paid $40 for it at a local game store. And at $40, that brings our total up to $20,799 for the Super NES Complete in Box Quest. And the last game up is Daffy Duck, The Marvin Missions. Daffy Duck, The Marvin Missions was developed by ICOM Simulations and published by Sunsoft. It blasted into stores in 1993. The Marvin Missions is based off a cartoon Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. Starting off the game, you'll see it has top-notch graphics. Everything is really detailed and pleasing to the eye. Before starting the first level, you get $1,500 to spend in a store. Here you can buy 1-ups, different weapons, and fuel for your jetpack. Your main weapon has unlimited ammo. It's a weak gun, but it's better than nothing. Besides your main pistol, you have a freeze gun, 3 shotgun, antimatter gun, and a bomb gun. You also have a shield, which I initially kept forgetting about, but you'll quickly realize you need it if you're gonna get anywhere in the game. Finally, there's the jetpack, which has limited fuel, but it really comes in handy and can help you discover hidden places. A really interesting mechanic in the game is using the gun's recoil to help you reach areas that you wouldn't be able to get to with a normal jump. The levels are set up like a maze. Along the way, you'll find purple arrows that direct you where to go and serve as a checkpoint. Music is just background music that's just there to keep the game from sounding eerily quiet. The controls are where the game goes south. Daffy is a pain to control and the controls are really floaty. They're a pain to get used to. Finally, there's the bosses. They don't have a health meter. There's nothing to show you're actually damaging them, and they take a ridiculous amount of hits. Overall, the Marvin Missions is an okay platformer, but it's nothing to write home about. Daffy Duck, The Marvin Missions is game number 105 for the collection, and it cost me $35 shipped. And at $35, that brings our total up to $20,834 for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box Quest. I will say that I bought this game in the beginning of 2022, so the price of this game has actually went up a little bit. Let's get these games on the shelf. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. I'm completing the entire Super Nintendo library, complete in box, right here on this show. Also, make sure to leave a thumbs up for the rarest complete in box Super Nintendo game, Hurricanes. Until next time, I'm Gamer Wayne, and thanks for watching.